Hey everybody, I'm back and I'm finally gonna make my Christmas update. And all I can say for my Christmas update is, man, it is probably the most delayed video in my history of YouTube. I mean, I meant to make it the day after Christmas, and it's January 14th, 2010, so it's been from late December to the middle of January. Well, I'm sorry that if it was delayed, but the fact is that I got sucked in and now I'm addicted to a lot of these games I got for Christmas. But tomorrow is going to be my Christmas update. Tonight I'm just going to show you all the items of what I got around Christmas time, from mid-November to late December. So yeah, I got a lot of pretty cool stuff, some interesting stuff here. And first things first, Metroid Other M. Now, this is the first Metroid game in one of my updates, and what I can say about the Metroid franchise is it's really cool, and it's a unique type of it's a unique type of gameplay. Like, instead of level to level, you have to find different power-ups, you have to find your way through this big world. It's like one big map instead of different levels. You have to find secrets, and you have to defeat bosses in order to complete the game. Metroid is famous, and I've played 4 Metroid games, including this. Metroid on the NES, Super Metroid for the on the Virtual Console, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and this game. And but for me, the best Metroid game I've played so far, and probably one of my favorite games of all time, is Super Metroid. I tell you, Super Metroid is it is an absolutely fantastic game. Everything about it is top notch. The graphics, the visuals, the gameplay, the music was amazing, and it was just so fun. And I actually played Super Metroid a lot. That there was a period in my life, mid 2009 to early 2010, that I did not even need a map or a video to find a lot of the stuff throughout the game. I could find all the energy cells, all the super missile, all the super missile upgrades, all most of the normal missile upgrades, and all of the Powerball upgrades, and all of the regular power ups without looking up one video or taking one look at a map. And Metroid Prime 3 Corruption is a pretty good game. I may play the other Metroid Prime games, Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for the GameCube. They look pretty good, but Metroid Prime 3 is another pretty good game. I like the idea of how Samus, the main character, Samus is an intergalactic bounty hunter, and in Metroid Prime 3, how she has a dark alter ego version of herself and she has to fight it. And it was a pretty cool game. The visuals were great, the enemies were unique, and it was one of the first Wii games to get the element of a first-person shooter right. I mean, when I was playing that game, there was so much to do, and it looked so real that I really did think that I was Samus playing in that suit with the blaster in front of me. But Metroid Other M, it seems to be going back to the more classic Metroid games where it's more of a side scroller. It's still 3D, but it's a third person point of view like the original Metroid and Super Metroid. By the way, the original Metroid is another pretty good game. I highly recommend checking that out. And Metroid Other M, it's definitely stands out amongst the other normal against the other recent Metroid games. This time because it's not an FPS. Most of the time, again, it's third person. It seems more like a side scroller. Instead of using the nunchuck, you just hold the Wii on its side like you do for New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But if you point it at the screen, Samus will enter a first person aiming mode looking through her helmet like in Metroid Prime 3. But it's so far, I've only used it for specific targeting, charge beam targets, and firing missiles at enemies. And the visuals are pretty unique and cool. So far, I'm in a space station with with holographic rainforest, and the enemies are done well in design. And I also like this funny thing. There's like you throughout so far in the game, as I've seen, there's like this little white rabbit furry type thing, like a little Furby, and sometimes when Samus observes it and she thinks that there's something suspicious about it, and then it gives her this glare. It's like a little rabbit version of the dramatic chipmunk glare. But Metroid Other M's story so far, and the reason why I'm saying so far a lot is because I haven't played much of this game, sadly. I've gone through the second boss, and it's because I've been busy with the other games I got for Christmas. But the story, it seems, is gonna be a sequel after the events of the Metroid Prime games to follow up after the events of Metroid Prime, but seems to continue a story from Super Metroid. In fact, I was very happy to see this. The first cutscene in the game is a 3D version and flashback, and here's a spoiler. At the end of Super Metroid, where Metroid was finding the dinosaur version of Mother Brain, and the baby Metroid saved her life. And it appears that now Samus may have a lighter view on Metroid, seeing that how one, of course, just let her continue and showed a generous act of nature and ended up sacrificing itself. And here you actually hear Samus talk like with full sentences in a script. We did hear Samus before just had text, and in the previous games it appears that they made her a silent character, but you still heard like grunts and sounds from her. And after that, she had taunts. She had a taunt in Super Smash Bros. Brawl when you could hear her talk as Zero Suit Samus. But here, she doesn't really talk. It's all done through flashbacks of when in the present of when she sees her squad from the intergalactic military again, and within her monologue. And so far it's interesting, and I hope to finish this game. But the only problem I have with this game is that Samus runs a little bit too fast. Now I understand. Now that could be useful, like if I just want to move because I want to get through a map, or if I miss something and have to go back. But sometimes this can come in trouble, like if I'm at a 2D side of view, and if I need to just keep on running, and then suddenly an enemy may pop up and I just may slam into it, and then I'll be in trouble. So yeah, Samus runs a bit too fast, and it's not like if you lightly press the D-pad, she'll walk slower. No, you have no choice but to run. But aside from that, it's a pretty good game. I highly recommend checking it out. A good installment in the Metroid game series so far. It's nice to see a Metroid game after a few years. Here's an iPod Classic I got. It's a silver 160 gigabyte version. Let's see if you can see it. It's there 160 gigabyte, and it's pretty cool. With the screen now, I can see TV shows. I can look at the artwork from my albums. I have a lot of songs on there, and it works pretty well. I just use this to select stuff, like if I want to go deeper to the menus. Yeah, I have to charge it. And I also go like this, menu back to select what menus I want to go to if I want to go back. Let's see, skip to the next song, go back to the start of the song, or go back to the to the previous song, or fast forward, rewind, play, pause. It works pretty well. Let's see, the charger goes in here, and the earphones, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just find that little hole in you. See if I can get this. Find a little hole and you plug it in there. And it fits well in my pocket. It's a pretty good iPod. Really good. And here's the game that that you probably all have been waiting for the second that you saw this video. Pacman, what do you think about the Call of Duty game for 2010, Black Ops? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that it's not what I expected. And to be honest, I think I'm going to have to go back to when I played Modern Warfare, and how it compares with the other games, like a comparison of Infinity Ward and Treyarch Call of Duty games. The first game I played was Call of Duty 3. I thought it was pretty good, but I didn't understand why people thought it was famous, but then I realized that it got famous after number 4. Then I played World at War, and I always wanted to believe that it was a great game, but I kept on feeling that there were some things wrong with it, but I just wanted to believe that because it was the only Call of Duty game I had for the Wii. But then when Modern Warfare came to the Wii, and then I played it, and then I actually looked at the history, and I will agree, Treyarch's job of Call of Duty World at War was not as good as Infinity Ward's job in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like, when Call of Duty Modern Warfare came out in 2007, it's one of the most influential first-person shooters since Halo and GoldenEye. Like, it's a great game, the campaign's awesome, all the players are cool, and the multiplayer is simply amazing. You get to choose your own classes. There's C4 RPGs. You get to pwn noobs. All this stuff. The maps are good. And after that, it's just such a famous game that people still consider it with all the 2000, like the late 2000, even with like Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops, that Modern Warfare 1 is still the best Call of Duty game. Then after that, Treyarch made World at War. Let me just go off topic here. Still, like, Treyarch made World at War, but for some reason, as I feel, I can't help but think that if either Treyarch was trying to make it a little bit more different from Modern Warfare, or just completely go with Modern Warfare and take no risks and hope for it to be a hit. World at War I still think is a good game, and let's be honest, the best part about it was zombies. Just go online, split screen, own some zombies, get to higher levels, the laser gun. But the multiplayer was a bit shallow. I can't help but feel that some of the guns were disappointing. The Panzerschrecks and bazookas didn't work as well as the RPGs. Like the flamethrowers were good, but they had a shorter range. They weren't as good as the grenade launchers in Modern Warfare. The maps, although they were cool, they were a little bit smaller. And a lot of the positions where you could camp or snipe could usually be found more easily, and players could just take you down. Also, the kill streaks weren't as rewarding. It appears that in Modern Warfare you had the UAV, and in World at War you have the recon plane. They both work equally well. They just detect enemy players. Then in World at War you have an artillery strike, but it doesn't seem to work well. I only seem to get like when I played World at War, when I used the artillery strike, it seems that I could only get like one kill if I was lucky with that. But in Modern Warfare, if I call in the airstrike, it seems like most of the time I'll get at least one kill. And the dogs were disappointing for a 7 kill streak. It seems that although I would get a lot of kills, it's not as good as the helicopter, where if you go in the open, it's a guarantee to get killed. And in World at War, you can still take down the dogs easily. It's better just to shoot them or knife them than to go outside and fire a helicopter like in Modern Warfare with an RPG. So yeah, World at War though had a great single player story through the acts of World War II, even though it wasn't independent. It was still interesting, and the soundtrack is probably in World at War the best of any Call of Duty soundtrack. And Sergeant Reznov, he is probably one of the most awesome characters of all in video game history. I mean, all the other like Call of Duty characters, Soap, let's see, Corporal Dixon, Huxley, all these other cool characters, Roach, Soap. I think Sergeant Reznov tops them all. That Russian sergeant is absolutely great. His speeches, the way he takes down Nazis, the way he speaks of glory and promise, and he wants to lead his people to victory, his dramatic tone, and he's voiced by Gary Oldman himself. Reznov is just the most awesome character ever in a Call of Duty game, and I was excited to hear that he was going to appear in Black Ops. But then after World at War, Infinity Ward Infinity Ward comes back. Modern Warfare 2. It's a famous game. It's a pretty good game, I think. Multiplayer's fantastic. Cool single player, and it introduces what people consider to be one of the most hated characters of all time in the single player. Good single player. And Modern Warfare 2 is great. Then there's this. Since Infinity Ward had their turn and it was going to be Treyarch again, with Black Ops, I was expecting disappointment. But luckily, I was wrong. It appears that Treyarch learned their lesson, and with Black Ops, it was absolutely good. The multiplayer was modeled after Modern Warfare 2 with more red dot sights. You could customize your kill streaks instead of those traditional 3. There were the kill streaks were more rewarding, similar to Modern Warfare 2. And the single player, I think, is one of the best in any Call of Duty game. When I first saw this, because I heard it was Call of Duty, the first thing I thought was Vietnam. I was expecting for you to just be this soldier. He goes all throughout the events of Vietnam. There doesn't really have to be a story. Just, put him in the perspective of us American soldier in Vietnam, go through the war, We have the single player. But instead, Treyarch must have known that an independent and fictional storyline like in the Modern Warfare series was better, and they tried at it, and it was awesome. it kind of starts out as what I thought. You start off as at the Bay of Pigs, the failed U.S. mission to try to stop the spread of communism in Cuba by encouraging the Cuban people to take down the dictator government led by Fidel Castro, and you think that in the first two missions you've killed Castro, then it turns out it's a double, and then you find this Russian sergeant who appears to have betrayed everybody, and then after that it turns out that you know this Russian sergeant. His name is Dragovich, and he worked with Sergeant Reznov himself. And when Mason goes to Vorkuta, a prison camp, that's where he meets Sergeant Reznov. And as always, he's just as cool, as awesome as he ever was. He sees Mason as a brave and encouraging man, kind of like as if Dmitry Pentrenko. Something bad happens to Dmitry, the Russian character you played as in World at War. I won't give it away, but he wants to lead his people to freedom again. He actually has a cool speech in the Steps to Freedom and Liberation from the camp. And he's got a lot of bravery. I mean, he could probably go up against every single last guard in the prison camp, and he'll probably just fight on until he dies. But Sergeant Reznov again, he's done well. It's pretty cool how he's shapen even after the events of World War II. And when the story line goes out, you find that Dragovich has this history with Sergeant Reznov and how he actually betrayed his Russian government and his loyalty to the army after World War II, where he discovered a compound with a Nazi general who had it implanted in a ship if the fascist government fell in Germany, because they knew it would fall. So the chemical compound is called Nova 6, and it can kill a man in seconds. Now, they actually tested it out on some people, and it proves to be brutal. And with Mason having connection to these, it's realized that if Nova 6 may have some routes planned out for major cities across the United States, and they have to find a way to destroy the base. And this leads to a famous line in Black Ops: "The numbers, Mason. What do they mean?" It's starting to become a famous line in the series, and what happens is that Dragovich and General planted a program in his head to actually make him kill the president and not tell anything about the numbers. So throughout the game, he's delusional. They have to figure out what the numbers mean and hope to discover the base, and then even after the Vietnam storyline happens shortly, it goes on to the Nova 6 plot. And after that, it turns out to be a pretty interesting plot. And when Mason sees Reznov again after the breakout of the prison for Kuda, at the end, it turns out a twist to what Mason thought was well, I won't give it away, but it's a twist when Mason meets Reznov, and then he finds out something at the end. So yeah, and Black Ops multiplayer is pretty good with 3 famous images of it. Like 3 images of Black Ops that stand amongst the rest of the Call of Duty games. There's like this Rambo type First Blood crossbow, exploding crossbow arrows, normal crossbow arrows. There's a tomahawk, a throwing axe, and most famous, there's I don't know the name, but it's a remote controlled explosive made car. If you get a 3 kill streak, and if you activate a third kill streak, and if you get 3 kills, you'll take control of this remote controlled card, which is strapped with explosives. You can control with the analog sticks, and you can detonate it near any player you can find. But while doing so, you're vulnerable. And when I first played Black Ops, I am still technically getting pwned, but I tell you, although I'm better in Modern Warfare 2, when I first started playing Black Ops, I think I did better than when I started playing Modern Warfare 2, and I still think that'll get better. And with all this good stuff about Black Ops, what do you think would be better? Which one do you think that I would think would be better? Black Ops or Modern Warfare 2? They're both great games, but still, I think that Modern Warfare 2 is better. Although, for single player, Black Ops is better, but for multiplayer, which is pretty much where everybody buys Call of Duty games nowadays, it seems that well, here's why Modern Warfare 2 is better. The tactical nuke. that weapon, when you get that 25 kill streak, and I still hope that I'll get one day, you could just wipe out everybody in the land in probably the greatest moment of pwnage ever on the TV screen in video game history. And it's a shame because in Black Ops they could have done that as well. Like you could have had this large Nova 6 bomb. If you get 25 kills, you activate it, the Nova 6 bomb drops on the field, and everybody, including you, gets killed and you get all that XP. So it's a shame. If Treyarch added that in, I'd say that the multiplayer would be tied with Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, and because Black Ops has a better single player, this may have won actually, or at least tied. Plus, Black Ops has zombie modes, has zombie mode again, and it's pretty, and again it's pretty cool. But for multiplayer, go with Modern Warfare 2. But for but Black Ops' multiplayer is still pretty good. But for single player, go with Black Ops. So this is a really good installment in the Call of Duty series, and I highly recommend checking it out. So I think that Call of Duty Black Ops was a good installment in the Call of Duty franchise in 2010. Does that mean I think it's the best FPS of 2010? No, and you'll find out what I think was the best FPS of 2010 in my Christmas update. Oh, and by the way, doesn't this game say that sometime this year we'll have the United States Marines, the British SAS, the Russian government against ultranationalists? Well, guess what? It's that year, and I don't see any development of it.